Let's talk about copy abilities. The Kirby series is one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time. With all of its cool levels, boss battles, and characters, the best thing about Kirby has to be the copy abilities. So as we all wait patiently for Fawful's minion to finish his copy ability countdown, take your time, dude. I think we can all wait just a little while longer. I'm going to share with you my top 5 favorite copy abilities, as well as what I consider to be the top 5 worst copy abilities. Now with my favorite copy abilities, these aren't particularly the best abilities, just the ones I like. Now, there are some rules for both of these lists. 1. No Kirby 64 abilities. Since there are so many combinations in that game, and since I haven't really played that much of Kirby 64, it wouldn't be right to put them on here, and it would be too much for this list. 2nd, no final abilities that would be used at the end of the games, so unfortunately, you won't see anything like the Star Rod or the Master ability on here. Lastly, no copy hats from Smash Bros. And even though they won't count as a single entry, I will briefly mention super abilities if I talk about an ability that one of the super abilities comes from. And with that, let's begin, starting with my favorites. To begin, we actually have a tie. I couldn't decide which ability I liked more, so they're sharing the same spot. They are Tornado and Fire. Both of these abilities are almost always found in the games. Let's start with Fire. Fire is, well, an ability that lets you command fire, which is freaking awesome. You can breathe fire in any direction, either up, down, or right in front of you, by using the D-pad. In later games, the fire ability got several other moves, like spinning in the air while breathing fire, turning into a fiery wheel in the air, turning into a giant ball of fire, and gaining the skill that used to be the burning ability, which was a separate ability in other games. And then there's the Monster Flame super ability from Return to Dreamland, which summoned a dragon to destroy everything. Man, that's a lot of ways to roast your enemies. As anyone who's seen the anime knows, the fire ability was the first ability Kirby used in the show. I didn't play Kirby until Nightmare in Dreamland, so when I used Fire Kirby, it felt so good commanding fire. Then there's the Tornado ability. Tornado allows you to turn into a vortex that can fly around in the air at fast speeds for a short time, and mow down any enemies in your way. It's a good ability for attacking in the air. In Squeak Squad, Tornado had the ability to absorb elements like ice, and cloak the tornado with that element. In Return to Dreamland, Tornado got new moves, like releasing a big vortex after the normal use of the ability, and shooting tornadoes up in the air or down to the ground. But what I like about Tornado is how it fares against bosses, especially in boss endurance and arena modes. To sum this up, Fire and Tornado are two great abilities that any player of Kirby should try out. They've been around for a long time, and I'm sure we'll see much more from these two abilities in the future. Number 4 is an ability that could give even Mario a run for his money. Hammer is an awesome ability. Seriously, the hammer is the size of Kirby's body, and he just smacks enemies and bosses around like it's nothing. This ability has all sorts of interesting uses in the series, and is easily one of Kirby's strongest abilities in terms of raw power. You could smash enemies with just a single whack, or you could dash forward and swing it around, or you can go mid-air and do a spin with it, or you could swing it upwards as it charges up on fire to outright destroy your enemies. In fact, this move was so powerful in Superstar Ultra that Hammer was one of the best to use in the true arena. You can also use it underwater, and it can even be used to smash buttons that only Stone Kirby could press. There are even skills with Hammer that are only in certain games. In Squeak Squad, the hidden scroll skill for Hammer allowed for the Hammer ability to charge up and grow to ridiculous sizes to clobber enemies with a single blow. And in Return to Dreamland, if the Hammer was charged up, you could perform a triple Hammer swing and bash enemies. And let's not forget that Hammer got a super ability version that was just destructive and outrageous in size. Bottom line, Hammer is a fantastic ability with lots of uses and a lot of power to boot. Beam is one of those abilities that is pretty basic. It's an ability that's kinda meant for beginners. Design-wise, Beam is really cool looking with the clown jester hat and the beam wand. But Beam can be pretty weak. It's one of the first abilities you can use in any Kirby game, and all it does is release a small whip of light beams that aren't even strong enough to kill minor enemies with a single blow. If only it were a little bit better. And that's exactly what happened in later games. Yes, Beam is still basic, but the improvements that it was given in later games made it a force to be reckoned with, and made it stand out against some of the other better abilities in the series. In Squeak Squad, Beam's scroll ability made the beam longer and more powerful, and gave it electric properties, allowing it to produce an electric current on metal surfaces. Then there's Beam's ability in Superstar and Superstar Ultra. The beam is even longer, and there's now a dash attack, a mid-air dash move, and a charge shot. And then there's Return to Dreamland. It's practically the same as in Superstar, but with a few additions, like a faster charge shot, and of course... So yeah, Beam's pretty cool. It may be the most basic of all copy abilities, but it is still a fun ability to play with. Oh, and there's the Flare Beam super ability, but that's a bit difficult to control at times. You guys knew this would be on here. This ability is one of the classics, and it's one of the coolest abilities to use. I mean, you're wielding a sword! What more needs to be said? No, we are not doing that. So you're wielding a sword, but what can Kirby do with it? Well, a lot actually. Sword's abilities vary depending on what game you play. In Nightmare and Dreamland and Adventure, Kirby just swings the sword once. Nothing special. But in Amazing Mirror, Squeak Squad, Superstar and Superstar Ultra, and Return to Dreamland, Kirby could perform a rapid slash attack. The animation differed from which game you played. Kirby can also spin in mid-air with the sword, thrust the sword downward in mid-air in Return to Dreamland, perform the infamous Final Cutter move, and so much more. Sword can even be used to cut ropes and even grass. And in Squeak Squad, Sword was even able to fuse with Ice, Fire, and Spark to form elemental swords with properties of those abilities. And then there's the awesomeness that is the Ultra Sword super ability. An ability so powerful that anything, even solid ground, can be cut to bits. Please be Kirby's new Final Smash! And let's not forget about the awesome finishers you perform with the Ultra Sword in boss battles. Maybe I should do a list on video game finishers. Anyway, lastly, there's its design. Sword is an obvious Zelda reference with the green cap and all. Heck, in some games, Kirby fires a sword beam at full health, just like in a Zelda game. Oh, and let's not forget the spin attack move that Kirby does in Return to Dreamland. Sword is just a great ability. It truly highlights what Kirby is able to do with his power to copy his enemies. But what could I possibly love more than freaking Sword Kirby? Let's find out. So, you're watching the first part of the Kirby anime finale, and you see Kirby turn into all sorts of new copy abilities. And then you see this. Oh my gosh, that's so cool, I want! And then came the Kirby GameCube trailer, and you see this. Oh my gosh, there it is again, I want! But then the game was cancelled. Then came October 2011, where a brand new Kirby game for the Wii was released called Kirby's Return to Dreamland. You play through the game using all kinds of copy abilities. And then you find it. Oh my gosh, they finally put it in! This is so awesome! Oh yeah, it was awesome. That's right, my number one favorite copy ability is water. I've had so much fun playing with this copy ability. Seriously, it took Hal such a long time to put the water ability in, and when they finally put it in, they made it such a good ability to use. So, what does Water Kirby do? Well, he can spew out water drops continuously, and he can pump water from his cap upward to attack airborne enemies. His dash running animation has him surfing on the ground. He can jump in the air and shoot water out of his mouth toward the ground, pushing him up into the air. He can splash water by pressing down B. He can perform a rainbow splash thing, I don't know what it's called. His water shot that he performs underwater is strengthened through this ability. And best of all, he can dash into enemies with a wave of water. Oh, and Kirby's kinda invincible when he performs this dash attack. Seriously, you think Spark and Plasma are overpowered? You clearly haven't used Water Kirby. He is clearly the Water Master. I mean, he's a good Water Master, but he's not as good as you, Fawn.
Good, yeah, that's what I thought.
Please don't hurt me. Anyway, water is just awesome. This form has so many uses, so many abilities. It's almost too good. But that's why it's my favorite. I'm ChaosKey4013, and here's to hoping Water Kirby returns in Kirby Triple Deluxe. And now, it's time for the crap. Let's begin. So going back to the Kirby anime finale, you see Kirby transform into a new ability called Iron Kirby. A form similar to Stone, except it's kinda on the gigantic side. But it was still interesting. So is there an Iron Kirby in the games? Well, no, but the closest we got to one is Metal Kirby from Squeak Squad. And it sucked. I mean, the concept is interesting. It's Kirby made entirely of metal. But there are just so many things that hinder it. For one, Metal Kirby is as slow as all heck. Like, possibly slower than the staff from Kid Icarus Uprising. Not only that, but your flying is also hindered. Because Kirby is made of metal, gravity pulls you in faster, making it harder for you to fly. The only thing keeping it at number 5 is the fact that you are mostly invincible in this form. But what's the point when your movement is slowed down drastically? And now we, once again, go back to the Kirby anime finale. You see Water Kirby, and in your mind, you really want to play as Water Kirby. But before Return to Dreamland was released, the closest thing we ever got to a Water Kirby was Bubble Kirby from Squeak Squad. And it also sucked. You see, Squeak Squad had the bubble storage system where you can hold up to 5 abilities and items that can be used at any time. And Bubble Kirby was made to utilize this feature. Basically, you shoot bubbles out at enemies and turn them into stars to spit out, or copy abilities to use later. This would have been a useful ability if it weren't for the fact that Bubble Kirby is so weak. It takes forever to kill a minor enemy with this ability. And again, it'll just turn it into a bubble item. There is no point to using this ability when you are better off inhaling your enemies anyway. Sure, you can turn enemies into copy abilities to save them for later, but the game gives you plenty of bubbled copy abilities anyway. Thank goodness Water Kirby was introduced, because Bubble Kirby was a sad excuse for a water ability. You all knew this would be here. Sleep Kirby has been a staple in the series. All Sleep Kirby does is, well, sleep. You can't move, and you're vulnerable to attacks. Heck, the ability has been used as an obstacle to screw players over in some levels in the series. But what keeps the sleep ability from being any higher are the uses it has in other games. In Squeak Squad, Sleep's scroll ability allows for Kirby to heal his HP, something that the sleep ability should have had from the beginning. And in Return to Dreamland, while it doesn't heal you, the sleep ability's duration can end faster by shaking the Wii Remote. But regardless, sleep will always be a useless ability. Aside from Squeak Squad, there's no point to it except for being there for laughs. As a fan of Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite elements is the element of light. Heck, some of my favorite light attacks are from Kingdom Hearts. So what happens when Kirby acquires this element? That's it? That's lame. The light ability from Adventure and Nightmare in Dreamland only has one use: to light up dark areas. That's it. Oh, and it's a one-use ability, so there's that. There are no special moves for this ability. Heck, there aren't even that many places to use this ability. Now that I think about it, you could probably go through those dark areas without the light ability. So that right there just shows how useless this ability can be. The candle from Return to Dreamland was better than this. Some of the levels absolutely required it to get all the collectibles in a level and get through the level. The light ability is just a pathetic ability with no good use other than to light things up. But at least it wasn't entirely pointless, like number 1. Number 1 is an ability that shouldn't exist. It's an ability that serves no point. An ability whose name is a disgrace to all copy abilities, even the previous 4. This copy ability isn't just any copy ability, no. It's the copy ability. Oh my gosh! Why was this ability even made in the first place? For those that have never played Superstar or Superstar Ultra, this is what the copy ability does. It's a one-use ability that scans an enemy, kills it, and automatically gives you the ability that the enemy would have given you. So tell me, Hal, why would you make an ability that's essentially the same thing as Kirby's natural ability to inhale enemies and take their powers? You are better off turning the ability into a partner and inhaling another enemy to get a better copy ability. And even then, there are better partners than Tak, the partner that you get from the copy ability. Bottom line, the copy ability is terrible. It's a sorry excuse for an ability, it's only one use, and there is no point to it when Kirby can practically do the same thing that the ability does just by inhaling enemies like he always does. I'm Chaos Key 4013, and if the copy ability appears in Kirby Triple Deluxe, I am going to... Chaos?
That's 3 times I've done this. I think I just found my running gag.
People! People! I have an important message to make. Behold, I can fly!
So what? Superman can fly too.
How dare you not find this impressive?